After the abomination that was Zelda CDI, the land of Hyrule went quiet for the good part of a decade. On June 23rd, 1996, Sony released Nintendo's brand new console, the Nintendo 64. With it came its launch title, Super Mario 64, which was shown as an example of what was to come with the evolving concept of 3D gaming. As well as that, everyone anticipated Link's return and expected his new game to be amazing. Not even that can describe what they got. Well, I survived the animated series and the CDI games. Could have been worse. It could have been a Zelda Virtual Boy game. Ugh. The Nintendo 64 was the last major home console to utilize cartridge-based technology. Now, cartridges were getting out of date by the time the N64 was released, but it's understandable. After the SNES CD, Nintendo really didn't want to have to deal with CDs at the moment. And CD technology wasn't that advanced. It offered low load times. With the N64 and its cartridge-based technology, it was able to offer faster load times and further draw distances. The new game, originally dubbed Zelda 64, would have a long and extensive development cycle that would span as far back as 1995. After years of hoping and anticipating, it finally got released on November 21st, 1998 in Japan, and 2 days later in the States, as The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Pre-orders around the world were lucky in snagging a limited edition gold version of the cartridge, a tribute to the original two NES cartridges. However, it turns out the demand was so high that game stores in the States had to stop pre-selling. The game would see the earliest point in the current apparent timeline, taking place before Link to the Past. We see Link, a fairy boy being awoken from his slumber into the Kyria forest by... Navi! I'll get to you later, bitch. Ocarina of Time saw the introduction of many mechanics that would become staples to the franchise, the most significant ones being lock-on combat and automatic jumping, as well as assigning 3 items to the C buttons. After finding a sword and beating the curse inside the Great Deku Tree, young Link leaves the forest and heads out to Hyrule Field. It's here where you see what the N64 is really capable of. Back then, CD-based consoles weren't capable of handling long draw distances, which is where the N64 shines. The game's main aspect is the concept of time travel. After retrieving the 3 spiritual stones, Link is able to pull out the sacred Master Sword, and with it is transported 7 years in the future, where he is all grown up. This, of course, is the origin of the now infamous split timeline theory. Yeah, later. The game's main item was the titular Ocarina, which was used to transport, open certain items as well as achieving other things, like healing and freezing certain enemies. The game features so much it's hard to discuss everything without going off track, but of course we have to bring up the debut of Link's beloved pal, his horse Epona. In the middle of Hyrule Field is Long Lawn Ranch, and after a few trips around the course and jumping over the fence, Epona was yours to own. Being an early 3D game, models aren't as polished as they would be now, but of course, people usually overlook that and see the amazing world of incredible variety. But of course, Ocarina isn't perfect. Shut up! Well, to be fair, there's only 2 real issues that continuously get brought up. The first one, of course, being Navi. Navi is your fairy and accompanies you throughout the trip. The reason people hate her, though, is that she won't shut up!
Hey, listen, hey, listen, hey, listen, hey, listen,
Ah, it's in my head! Oh, God!
hey, listen, hey, listen, hey, listen, hey, listen, hey, listen, hey, listen.
Yeah, that's how I roll. The second thing people usually bring up is the infamous water temple. The temple required you to regularly change the water levels of the temple. The main issue I had with this temple was the fact you had to go into the menu to retrieve the iron boots. Fortunately, this was fixed in Twilight Princess. Throughout the course of the game's history, there have been 3 versions of Ocarina released. 2 major changes are present within the different versions, being the change of Ganon's blood from red to green, and of course, the Fire Temple music, which originally resembled Islamic prayer. It was originally believed it was changed due to outcry, but was recently debunked by game trailers.
Though the online guides proved accurate, what's odd is that every single N64 cartridge we tested out, whether it had the Fire Temple music or not, gave us a ROM completion date prior to the earliest known release date of Ocarina of Time anywhere in the world. That means the Fire Temple chants were removed prior to the game being made commercially available, period.
The most current version of the game is 1.2, which is the standard nowadays, being found in the Wii's Virtual Console and the Collector's Edition on the GameCube. Ocarina of Time was the first Zelda game I ever played, and even though I only played it back in 2009, I was still blown away, which just shows how well Ocarina has aged throughout the years. Ocarina of Time is usually cited as one of, if not the best games of all time, usually topping top 10 best of lists. But of course, the story of Ocarina doesn't end here. There is something else we must mention. Master Quest. Now, before we discuss Master Quest, we should of course go back into the history of its development. Originally there was going to be an add-on for the N64 called the N64DD, or Disk Drive, but after many delays, only saw a Japan-only release in late 1999. Originally, Ocarina was planned as the killer app for the DD, as Mario 64 was the original console. However, with the ongoing delays, it was decided to bring Ocarina to the main console and instead develop an expansion using the 64DD. That sadly never saw a light of day. It wouldn't be until a limited edition version of the game on the GameCube released alongside Wind Waker that we would finally find out what they were planning, with Ocarina of Time Master Quest. I don't own a copy of Master Quest as it goes for pretty heavy rupees on eBay, but really, why should I play it? Because it's basically Ocarina of Time Second Quest. The story is the same and the settings are all the same. The only difference is that some dungeons have been rearranged and it's actually kind of harder. So, if you really want to play Ocarina again with some different dungeons, I would recommend going on eBay. Or, of course, waiting for June on the 3DS. At E3 2010, it was announced that Ocarina of Time would be remade for the Nintendo 3DS, with Master Quest included. The game is planned for a June release this year. Ocarina of Time was one of Link's biggest adventures to date, and fans couldn't wait for more. What they got was different. Join us next time on the history of Zelda as we look at Ocarina's follow-up, Majora's Mask. See you all then.